All right, everyone. Good morning. Final morning briefing of the week from the Celtic Way. I am Hamish. We've got the full squad, or the usual squad, it should be, not the full squad. We've got Ryan on and Tony on. Thank you for sticking with us. I know we're a few minutes late. Those of you watching live, appreciate you all. You're all chomping at the bit, aren't you? There's plenty of chat going on. We've got stuff to chat about, Tony. Plenty of stuff. And we've got a game this weekend as well, and it's a tasty game, I would say, as well.
Yes, looking forward to that. Myself and Ryan shall hopefully be there with an official confirmation that we should be there. So we'll bring you pre-match and post-match and all that. And it's always difficult when you go to Paisley, isn't it? Stephen Robinson's team are always well drilled, well organised, and always give you a game. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I think one of the guys in the chat, Graham Caldwell, big St Mirren man, who's usually in the chat, he's going to come and say hello. So I look forward to meeting Graham as well. Good lad that he is, and knowledgeable football man. So yeah, that'll be fun too.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Ryan.
Very much so. And I'm 50-50 on the whole difficult game because, and their form at the moment has been sketchy. Yes, they get that good win against Hibs at the start of the season, but they were defeated against Brann over two legs, and then they get put out of the Scottish League Cup by Dundee United last weekend, and then the weekend before was an Aberdeen defeat. So, they've had ups and downs this season, but I'm well aware that they'll up their game for Celtic, as do most teams in the Scottish Premiership, which is to be expected. Celtic are the best team in the division, so teams naturally want to bring out their A game against the champions. But I'm looking forward to it. Good ground, the Swinser Stadium. I always enjoy going there. I remember Celtic were using that as pre-season friendlies 10, 11 years ago.
Who were the two teams we played there? Go on, test your knowledge. I'll open that up to the chat as well.
Oh, that's a good trivia question for anybody in the
comments.
One
of them was a big team. The other one, I'll be very impressed. It was
Real Sociedad.
They were the big team. I think it was a 0-0 draw. But there's a game a few days before then. Come on, someone's going to win a prize here for naming it. Tony, you get any ideas? No?
Sorry, what was the question?
Doesn't matter. The
pre-season teams back when Celtic were using St Mirren Park, I think it was because of the Commonwealth Games. Was it due to work going on at Celtic Park, or the opening ceremony happening at Celtic Park rather? Yeah. So I can't remember the other team. Was it? I wouldn't even want to have.
I know who it is, and I'm very proud of myself for knowing it because I was there. I thought we might have lost.
I checked out of life at that point because I took 2 weeks off during the Commonwealth Games, so I went into complete and utter shutdown. Yeah, so
So not a guy that scored a hat trick on that day.
Wouldn't be able to tell you.
No, nobody's getting it. It was Den Bosch, I believe.
Would never have got that.
Dutch team. They wear blue. I think we lost to them. I'm disappointed, everyone. I thought you would have known your season 2014-15 first pre-season friendly stuff. We'll let you off with it. I guess I'm just a wee bit of a weirdo for knowing that kind of stuff. Anyway, transfer stuff. What's the story? There's a few names we can maybe chat about. There's Matthias Boguts, and the chat is that we're a wee bit off LAFC's valuation. Shock horror, guys. I'm absolutely stunned to report that. What do you think, Tony?
Well, I think initially they thought they could maybe get him for 8 million. Was that right? Or that was the figure that was being talked about, and now that could rise to 10 million. Is that right? Or 10?
Yeah,
over 10 million. So that's the chat. Listen, you said the words there, shock horror. I'm not shocked or horrified or surprised. I texted Eric Sviatchenko yesterday, and he
lovely guy.
Texted me back. Lovely man, a wonderful human being, as you would say. And he texted me back and said he's played against him, very aware of him, and it would be very, very interesting if he went to Celtic. He said because he's a very good player, and he said he's currently the man on fire in the MLS at the minute, along with two other players. But he was saying that would be a very interesting move for the player, and he understands why Celtic are in for him. But he was kind of like he spoke very highly of him, despite not knowing too much about him. But played against him and said, "Yep, he's a very, very good player." So yeah, and I think a few others have commented and said he's a cracking player. You saw the highlights reel. Ryan was quickly onto me on the group chat after seeing the highlights reel and saying your thoughts, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, he does look very, very good. So, but does it surprise me that the price is going up? No, kind of maybe tells you that there's other interested parties as well. So, listen, Celtic have got a week today to do all the business that they want. So, as I've said before, links with these guys are great, but you'd rather see signings, won't you? And today will be interesting when the manager speaks about the lie of the land with reference to signings, ingoings and outgoings. So very, very much everybody will be hanging on to what the manager says today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. We'll maybe come on and chat about that because there's some really, I think there's going to be headlines to come from that. LAFC, they've got a Leagues Cup final Sunday night. I'm going to watch it, guys. It's on at an all right time here. It's on at 9:15 in the morning, Monday morning. So I'm going to watch it and feed back on Boguts and let you know all about him. But we're at this point, Ryan, where we need to just work out who we're signing and pay the money because we've not got long and we need so many positions filled. You're muted.
Sorry, we muted myself there. Yeah, they're going to get stung with this, unfortunately. And this is kind of what happened in the January transfer window when you leave things to the last minute. You're at the mercy of the selling club's valuation of players. And these players and these teams won't want to sell their players late on in the window, especially when LAFC won't even have a replacement lined up for them because I think the transfer window's shut over there. It won't open for another couple of months after I would need to double check that, but I did read that somewhere that the window was closed, so that could provide a unique problem for that team. Look, we all expect Matt O'Reilly to leave in the next 7 or so days. I'm surprised it's not already happened, to be honest with you. I thought they would have wanted him in for Brighton's game against Manchester United tomorrow lunchtime. That won't be the case now. I think it would be too much of a push to get him in for that game. But yeah, I thought it would have been done by now. Does that mean that they're still talking between the two clubs? Personal terms are still to be agreed. I'm not sure. I think it still will happen in the next 7 days. The Kyogo links seem to be going on. They're continuing to go on. So these situations have to be resolved as soon as possible because Celtic need to know their squad. They need to know their squad for Europe. They need to bring in capable replacements. They also need to strengthen, as we spoke about yesterday, in those positions that aren't getting talked about as much recently because of those links to attacking midfielders, etc. You know, they've still got the centre back position to strengthen. That might be the case in Austin Trusty. Left back, you know, that's still a position that needs to be identified. And then there's a couple of other positions that you could say here or there need to be strengthened too, give or take. So there's still a lot of work to do. 7 days to do so. It's going to be one hell of a recruitment drive in the next 7 days. Let's see if Celtic are up to the task because as of right now, apart from Sinisalo and Schmeichel, it's been the same players that have came in. There's not been any real new names, and that's what I want to see in the next 7 days. I want to see some excitement. I want to see some new players, some new blood coming into this team and really reinvigorating the squad. Not that it needs much reinvigorating, but an extra reinvigoration.
Yeah, I've come around to the feeling with a week to go the transfer window, and please don't laugh your head off when I say this, everyone. But 4 players is what I would like. I want a left back, a centre back, and 2 centre mids. And I know what you're thinking, potential striker. For now, no, I'm happy with Kyogo and Ida if Kyogo stays. But centre back, we need a centre back, we need a left back, and I think we need 2 midfielders if Matt O'Reilly moves on. So that's what I'm hoping for, but I'm preparing to be disappointed, Tony.
Yes, we shall see. 7 days, centre back for me is the main one. I know we also need a left back desperately. I get that, but I think we need a centre back to go into the Champions League. We need a new centre back. Champions League. And I think most people's concern is there's been no links to anybody, but I'm hoping there's due diligence being done in that position. Celtic will just produce some rabbit out of a hat from somewhere. But yeah, Matt O'Reilly goes. the manager himself said he needs 2 midfielders. You have a feeling that one of them might be McCowan for the Scottish contingent and as a backup from Dundee. Yeah, I know it doesn't excite you, but
Homegrown stuff, I guess.
yeah,
But
home game, yeah. So ticks that quota, doesn't he? The quota box. I'm just going on a hunch here, but because there's still interest there from Celtic, and then you might perm anyone from 2 of Arvin, Sanchez, and Enkles, but they seem to be the kind of furore around them's kind of quelled a bit as well, hasn't it? And obviously there's been Matthews, Gosh, and you're like, well, are they going to be priced out of that? And again, going back to, we spoke about it before about the leaving it too late, and now selling clubs are seeing your desperation, and they will try and hold on to their assets as long as they can and put extra money on in the terms of their assets value, and it's up to Celtic to. But you're hoping that what you've been hearing and reading that have been working away in these deals, and they're maybe getting some kind of joy that they can get the 4 players in that you say, Hamish. But I've got to be honest, and I'm not down on your suggestion, but I just don't see Celtic bringing in 4 players in a week when it's taking them ages to conclude the Bernardo deal and the Ida deal. I could be wrong on that. I'm laying every stock in what the manager says, and today will be very, very important to hear what he says today. I think a lot will hinge on what he says today, and we shall kind of see the lie of the land after that. It's a very big press because he's got a lot of issues to address today, hasn't he?
it's going to go on a while, isn't it? Because all the,
Yeah,
written media guys are still in, aren't they? So it's an all in. So it's going to probably be the best part of half an hour.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's going to be. I thought last week's press conference was box office for certain reasons. I think this week's one's going to be box office for other reasons too. You're going to find out a lot, I think, today from Brendan Rodgers. And I think that's the great thing about Brendan Rodgers. He is his own man. He's, as much as he represents the club, and he did defend the club last week after the allocation situation, he will be his own man, and he will talk up if he believes that things aren't getting done in the background, or if more work is needed to be done. I think 4 is the minimum at this point for signings from now until next week. It has to be the minimum. Time is of the essence. Whether they get that is a different story, but you come into the window, and I think they actually have done a good job eventually of getting rid of a lot of the fringe players. It looks like Mikey Johnson is heading elsewhere. Yuki Kobayashi, although that's not been announced yet, strangely. Toby Oluwayemi's went to Dunfermline. Gustav Lagerbielke is potentially on the move. Not heard anything about that, anything further to that. So they've done a good job in that sense. Maybe that's what's holding them back. They don't want an overflow of players at the same time. They don't want to have a Chelsea situation where they've got about 40 players on their books and they have to find individual training spaces for them. But once that's out the way, and once you get the likes of Mikey Johnson, Lagerbielke, and the aforementioned other names that I've said, then you might see the players coming in. That's best case scenario. Worst case is that they're scrambling for players at the moment here, and I hope that isn't the case, because then, like I said before, you're at the mercy of these teams, of the selling clubs, who can ask for basically what they want because they know that Celtic are in the position, both that they need players and that they're financially very wealthy too. So they know that they can get good prices from Celtic and that's I guess that's a byproduct of being a PLC and announcing that you're going to have incredible profits. Other teams are going to latch on to that. It'd be naive to suggest otherwise, to be honest.
Just a few names that have come up over the past 24 hours. One very recently, but yesterday we had Sheffield United defender Austin Trusty mentioned. I think one of you already mentioned him on this. He's a USA international. I don't know anything really about him. I've not heard of him before, but looking at the kind of basic information about him, reminds me a lot of Cameron Carter-Vickers. I think he's a similar age to Carter-Vickers. He's kind of playing at that kind of Sheffield United level. Previously been at a big club, a bit like Carter Vickers had been at Spurs, but had kind of been out on loan. Obviously the USA international thing. He's a centre back / left back. When we signed Carter Vickers, people were mentioning him as a centre back / right back. It sounds ridiculous to imagine Carter Vickers as a right back now, but he did play there earlier in his career. So I just wonder if there is something in this Austin Trusty stuff, if he's the centre back we're looking at. And on the face of it, if it is someone who Carter Vickers maybe knows from international duty, that might not be a bad move if they already have some sort of a relationship. So I think that's one worth keeping an eye on. The other one that's come up today that may be tenuous, but it comes from a guy called Nabil Djellit, a French journalist with, if this matters, 560,000 followers. So clearly not a nobody. He tweeted, and I put it through Translate to say, lacking playing time at Olympic Lyon, Mohamedou Diawara has an offer from Celtic. Other clubs are interested in the 19-year-old midfielder, including Nantes and Lens. So that's an interesting one as well. A couple of names there, Tony. I guess we're going to have far more names coming up.
There'll be lots of names coming up before now, and the 30th. Bearing in mind the 29th, we'll find out who we play in the Champions League as well. That's it's an exciting week coming up, and obviously starting today and then Sunday with the game against Run. But yeah, the 20-year-old midfielder doesn't fill me with great. The Lyon player,
No.
I don't know. I hate using the project word, but I'm not too sure about him. Yeah.
Do you not think like coming from a club like that, it's quite like project would maybe be signing like a guy from a small club.
Sure
Lyon have good players.
Pedigree, yeah. Listen, but I'm not as excited about that as I would be with somebody like Arvin Sanchez or Arna Engels, or Engels, however we're pronouncing his name. Ryan tells because Derek Ray told him. But Trusty, I quite like that because there is an understanding there with Cam and Carter Vickers. They'll play together. I like the joined up thinking with that. But again, it's another link. Why can't we just go out and sign these guys without there being, speculation dragged out for however long and weird? I said earlier on this week, the next 7 days, add the number of days that we've been talking about, they're just going to be torture in terms of Celtic's incomings and outgoings, because things are going to drag out. You're going to hear all sorts of names, like the Diawara name right now, and there'll be more of that kind of stuff. So it's just, I can't wait for the window to shut. I've got to be honest. But yeah, I agree with you that 4's the bare minimum, but what we want and what we actually get is going to be two different things, isn't it? Unless the manager comes out today and bosses it and owns it and tells us that he's got it in hand. And so far, his comments have been of a man who seems to have it all in hand. But the clock's ticking now, isn't it? That's all. That's your concern.
And it's been a testing week when you think that I think we'd probably all agree our best player is heading, for an exit, and we all probably thought that was coming, but we maybe hoped that he would stay, especially as the window went on. So we've not heard from Brendan Rodgers since the whole Matt O'Reilly stuff to Brighton has come out, so he's going to have to let us know what's going on there. But the big thing's going to be the Kyogo stuff. We've not really mentioned it because there's not any sort of update on it, everyone, so I didn't really want to go into it all again because I feel we've covered it over the past couple of shows, but that's going to come up today. What do you think Brendan Rodgers is going to say about that, Ryan? Because he's usually pretty honest and forthright with these kind of things.
Yeah, I'll be a tad concerned if he brings up the better your financials elsewhere sort of scenario that he's been using for Matt O'Reilly recently, because then I would say that the writing could potentially be on the wall. Just a bit of a side thing before I go back to talking about Kyogo. I had a wee look at that Mohamedou Diawara. I noticed that he was in PSG's academy until 2023 before joining Lyon. Now,
Like
you come from pretty good start. Yeah,
Weah,
you come from pretty good.
Edward.
So so do most teams in world football, to be honest, because Nkunku came from the same place as well. So their development, they do bring out good players, not necessarily players that always play for PSG like Man City, but they bring about players that make their way in other areas of the world, across Europe and even further afield too. So could be maybe something to look at. He has played games for Lyon as well, so it's not as if he's I mean, he is, but he isn't a reserve player. He's played games actually for Lyon's first team, so he's made appearances. So you've got something to go with there. That could be an interesting one. But just on Kyogo, I expect Brendan Rodgers to come out and rebuff all the Kyogo stuff and say that he's fine, he's staying, he'll be fit, because there hasn't been anything, major yet in that movement. There's not been a bid accepted, and I expect him to play at the weekend against St Mirren and Paisley. But it all depends on the. Yeah, I don't expect O'Reilly to play, but I expect Kyogo to play at the weekend. It's one of those ones that until an offer's made, an actual concrete offer is made, then I think Kyogo will just go. Well, that is if he's fit, actually. You've got that to bring into it as well. You've got Ida that could start as well. So, yeah, there are a lot of questions. You're actually making me doubt myself there, because I'm like, is he going to be fit to play? Is he going to play because of a transfer speculation? I'm going to go with it and say that he will play. He'll have shaken off his shoulder injury and he'll play on Sunday. As for Matt O'Reilly, I'm not so sure he's going to be playing on Sunday. Just got a funny feeling.
At risk of bringing all this up again, what would you think, Tony, on Matt O'Reilly?
I think if the deal's close, then yeah. And I'm led to believe that the deal's close. Excuse me. I wrote about it the other day. I fully expect Matt O'Reilly not to be in the squad for Sunday as well, because that's what we said until an offer, and I'm led to believe that it's all in hand. So I fully expect Matt O'Reilly not to be in the squad on Sunday as well, because they're that far down the road with Brighton, so I would imagine that he won't play. But Kyogo's another one. I guess we'll know a lot from if Kyogo does start or not, because you have Adam Ida there that can start, but Brendan Rodgers did say he's still getting up to speed. So, in terms of his fitness, you've got Maeda too. So, and he did very well last week in that position. So, today will be. It's one of them. Brendan Rodgers will speak, and you have to listen closely, and there'll be messages there, but there might be some coded and subliminal ones as well, because you might not want to say too much, but sort of pointing, steer you in the right direction. So it's going to be one of them. I mean, good luck to me and Ryan, because we'll be transcribing this, so it could be a long one, Ryan. Could be a bit of a shift transcribing, but yeah, I'm just a bit intrigued to hear what he says today about a myriad of subjects. Mostly transfers, but other things as well. But yeah, I feel like I don't expect Matt O'Reilly to be on Celtic squad. I think we're all prepared for that. Kyogo one took his blindsided us the other day, and then it blindsided us because it was a tweet from Fabrizio Romano, so you kind of knew there was some concrete links. But now there's been a lot of stabbing in the dark since, hasn't there? About Celtic setting a fee of 20 million and all that kind of stuff. And you get a feeling some of that's, I'm not saying it's guesswork, but most people don't really know. So the manager will have to address the Kyogo situation, because he will get asked the question, won't he?
Yeah. I think, as I say, I think it's going to be interesting to hear from the manager. Right, Hazel saying, to be honest, guys, fed up with reports now, want to see some action, yet you and me running out of time for signings. Yes, and generally, when you look at the comments, people are obviously pretty frustrated. To be honest, it's been like that all summer, and I don't blame people. I've felt that generally, and I'm kind of counting down the days a bit like you, Tony, till this is over and we can move on and not have to discuss it, because it's quite draining. I'm sure everyone feels like that, but I do want to bring up a couple of just different comments, because not everyone's feeling like that. Colin saying, panic merchants, chill out. Great things come to those who wait. Exciting times, new players, new legends will be born. I think Celtic are going to be fine domestically this season. I think we're not going to have a complete disaster of a season or anything like that. Like, I still back us to win the league, which is the most important tournament we enter every year. The bread and butter, all of that stuff, I think we'll still be fine. It's the European stuff I think we all feel is most important. Stephen's saying it's not most important, but is the kind of thing this year that we're really wanting to measure ourselves at. Stephen's saying Juranovic, Jota, CCV and GG all came in after the 23rd of August 2021. I think 3 of those were actually unveiled on the last day. Carter Vickers came in about 10 minutes before the end of the window. So again, that's a valid point. I think from reading Stephen's comments in the past, he's quite generally quite relaxed, I would say. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he's a kind of more positive maybe about things than a lot of people, and I think that's a fair point. We can do good business late on. There's just not a great amount of trust right now, and we've got a lot of stuff to do, Ryan. But other people can see positivity.
Say what you want about the way that he exited the club or the way that things shifted, but all 4 of those signings happened when Don Mackay was at the club. So I'm not into conspiracy theories or going and what's changed, but the last time Celtic were pragmatic like this was at that period when he was in charge, or when he was the CEO. And since then, I just don't think the movement's been as good in the transfer window. I feel like we saw something in 2021 with the speed in which players came in. Even at the end of the window, I know they got those 3 players in on deadline day, but how important were those 3 players to reclaiming the title back off the Rangers? And Jota, Carter Vickers and Giakoumakis, 3 massive, massive players. You know, their contributions will never be forgotten in that season. I just want Celtic to do the same, and I hope that, you know, at that point, the 23rd of August, there is 3 or 4 players to come in the door that can really, 3 or 4 players of that quality, put that into this Celtic team, you'll see the difference almost immediately. Because our first team players, all of them, or most of them, commanded a first team spot. Giakoumakis took until the second half of the season, but he really did come alive when he was fully fit and firing. But Carter Vickers, Jota and Juranovic, they all became first choice players almost immediately when they came into the club. I'm wanting the same for whoever Celtic sign. I want to see Darryl O'Shea sign for Celtic now, because the path is clear for him. Celtic need to stump up the money for him now. Brentford signed the Liverpool centre-back, that Dutch centre-back, Sepp van den Berg or something like that. So they signed him. So Brentford aren't going for Darryl O'Shea. So the players there, the players available, they might need to overspend like they presumably overspent for Ida, if that's what you want to believe. These players are there if you part with the money, and Celtic have got the money to part with at this point in time. Bring in the quality required for the Champions League and make a real fist of it in Europe, because you'll make the money back. You get, 2 million for every win that you get in the Champions League, round about that figure.
Yeah, something like that.
And if you get 3 or 4 of them, that'll pay for your transfer already, and that's before even talking about gate receipts, talking about TV deals, etc. You speculate to accumulate in these competitions, and I think Celtic have really got to put their money where their mouth is here. They've made it clear that they're in a profitable position. That's good for a business, but Celtic are a football club as well, and they need to show it on the park with the players that they sign. So I'm hoping this next week is busy, because it's been a bit of a drab so far. This and a drag this transfer window so far. I'm hoping it all springs into life in the remaining 7 days. I may be wrong, but I expect it. Not that I expect to be disappointed, but I want to be surprised in this window in the last 7 days.
Yeah. Can we mention the weekend as well? We've had a message from your pal Tony Graham Caldwell getting in touch. Don't worry, guys. Expect you to be comfortable on Sunday. We have a few players injured, including O'Hara, who is very important. Even without Matt O'Reilly, I would go for 3-1 Celtic. I think Sunday might be a really tough game. I really like St Mirren. I think they're one of my kind of favourite teams in the league at the moment, the way they go about their business. I think they, both on and off the park, I think they make it difficult for teams, and I think it's going to be a challenge for us on Sunday.
I think the one silver lining in all of this is the way the team has been playing and the way the manager's got them playing in the start to the season. That's been a huge positive. But you know fine well, if you take certain players out of that, then it might upset that rhythm that Celtic have built, which they've built in pre-season right up until now. and they're playing very well. Yeah, I'm expecting a tough test on Sunday, but like Graham said there, I fully expect Celtic to win. Excuse me. But I fully expected Celtic to win that day they turned up in Paisley and wore the grey strip and get turned over 2-0 when Ange
Yeah.
Postecoglou's team were doing very well, and everybody remembers that. So that's how easy it is for these things to happen, for you to get a slap in the face, belt in the mush, call it what you like. But in terms of talking about, spending money, I mean, I was a wee bit hopeful about O'Shea when they started talking about Mikey Johnson to Burnley. I thought that might figure in some part of that deal, wasn't it, originally? They were saying Mikey Johnson was talking to Burnley, or I don't know if somebody got that wrong, but I think initially we read that, and I thought that would make sense again, connecting dots and saying a bit of planning, that would make sense, Mikey Johnson plus cash for O'Shea, because that's a position, Celtic really need to fill. And there is no impediment now to go and getting somebody like O'Shea. He is the only centre-back that's been linked tenuously with the club, isn't he, so far? Or I don't even know if he's been linked with the club. He just liked somebody's Instagram, didn't he? And people were saying...
I think there was a thing earlier in the summer saying we were interested in him, but since that was about a month ago, and there's been nothing since. I personally don't think O'Shea's going to be an option for us. I'd be stunned if we sign him. That's not based on anything I've heard or that. I'm just, the way things are going. There's been nothing in a month.
It looks like it'll probably be Trusty if it's the centre back, because he is a centre back that can play left back, so he's mobile enough. That tells me that he can be a mobile centre half and get about the pitch fairly quickly if he can play in both positions. Good stock. He's played in America, signed for Arsenal, played for Birmingham. He played for as well before moving to Sheffield United for $5 million. Yes, he was a part of that terrible defence last season in the Premier League, but Carter Vickers was part of some bad defences before he joined Celtic. So, I would hold off reservations if he is going to sign until he actually pulls on the green and white jersey and see what he does then.
I always hold off reservations, Ryan. I make a judgment on a player. As I say, you can show all the highlights reels that you want. Your eyes will tell you if these players will cut it at Celtic, if they are fortunate enough to sign for Celtic, and Celtic are fortunate enough to take them on. So I always do that. You can make anybody look good in a highlights reel, or you can present any form of statistics slanted in a way that portrays them in a negative light. You will always know a player when you see one in the flesh. And if Trusty's the man, fine. If it's not O'Shea, fine. But you get back to the clock's ticking and everything. And it's been a pretty negative week, hasn't it, in terms of Celtic, with the Matt O'Reilly deal almost been done, Kyogo being the subject of Man City and incomings. Again, you're hearing whispers and rumours here and there, but nothing concrete, and no deals been done here. Talks have taken place. But the one positive, I stress again, has been the on-the-field play. And, throughout this as well, throughout this week, Celtic have to negotiate that game on Sunday and keep their winning start to the season. And, that's Celtic's bread and butter. It's winning football matches. Yeah, we want them to compete at a level. Hamish, I've been banging that drum for years. It's just Europe's where we want to be at. But it's very hard to focus on Europe right now when you see the kind of mood music surrounding the club at this minute. Come this time next week, we could be trying to scrape us off the ceiling because everything has fallen into place. We do get those 4 players, we'll feel a lot better about ourselves. We'll know the draw as well. But come this time next week, we'll know the draw and we could be sitting like, oh no, crestfallen again. So, but it's just in the nature of Celtic, isn't it? It's just, as I say, this next week's going to be the ultimate football roller coaster for fans, I believe.
Because I was going to say, I'm sure we've got a game next week as well. I'm sure there's a match, isn't there? Yeah, is it
it's a small matter?
I thought that
a small matter of football at the end of next week. Yeah, correct. Yeah,
the biggest derby in world football and all of that kind of stuff. It's going to be a mad week next week, and I think that's I think that's why Sunday's important as well. It's important we just because it's a weird thing because you feel almost as if there's some sort of crisis, but there's obviously not. Like that's just the way we maybe feel because of the transfer stuff because it's so built up. But like on the pitch, the team is in a fabulous place. So I think it's important that the team keep that up on Sunday, win the game, and send us into what's going to be or should be a brilliant week next week if things happen. But it could also be a bad week. So I mean, it's next week's going to be mad.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite of a crisis. It actually shows that the club is developing players because teams want these players. It's more in the fact that what they do once these players do eventually leave the club that is the problem. They've clearly got assets. They've got assets all over the pitch, and teams want those assets. Even Carter Vickers was getting linked with moves to Atalanta. I think Atalanta are just going through the squad list and being like, what player can we take from Celtic at this point in time?
Mikey
We've got
Johnson,
to Carter
please.
Vickers. Yeah. We've got Adamola Lookman on that side, so I think they'll be quite all right. Yeah, it could be a really exciting week. I'm hoping it's an exciting week. Things will happen regardless if they're good or bad, so it's going to be eventful regardless. I'm just hoping that Celtic come out on the other side stronger than when they entered the window, because that's what Brendan Rodgers has been talking about quite a number of times. He wants to be stronger coming out of it than when they entered. So it's up to the Celtic board and the hierarchy to deliver on that.
How can you have the start to the season that Celtic have had, playing some wonderful football, scoring some cracking goals, and the Hamish use the word, only Celtic could be a crisis as well in the same week of the same couple of weeks.
We're obviously not in a crisis. I was just kind of saying that it sometimes feels a bit like that. Although love it saying of course there's a crisis.
But that's what I mean. Now, how can you be playing the way you are and everything really good on the park? Yeah, off the park, you're just like you're despondent, you're despairing, and all of this while saying you want to make a fist of it in the Champions League. It blows your head, doesn't it? It's what being a Celtic supporter is all about. We do this dance every time there's a transfer window, and it gets down to the last few days of the transfer window. We are used to it. We always think it's going to change. And I think from 3 weeks ago we were saying it's 21 days for it to change, 14 days for it to change. There's now 7 days for it to change. But on a positive side, I'm feeling confident about Sunday. I think there's still a lot there that in the tank there that Celtic can take care of some tough game though it may be. But what happens off the park, and that's the thing, it's because you've kind of no control over that. And that's what's frustrating. We all want to see different things, but what we want and what we get are always going to be two different things, aren't they?
Marcus is telling you it's not funny, Tony. You have to stop laughing. There is no joke here. So it's one of those, if you don't laugh, you'll cry type scenarios.
I was trying to be more upbeat because lots of people were saying all week they will not be upbeat, so you can never win, eh?
Yeah. Someone was going, was it Jerry? Sorry. Who was going for 4-0 there? Yeah, Jerry Smith, 4-0. With or without O'Reilly and Keogh. We'll come on the Celtic. Yes, Jerry, at the end of the day, it's about what happens on the pitch, and Sunday hopefully we can get a positive result. Right, you guys will have videos coming out your ears throughout the weekend as always, including one after the press conference today, so folk can stick around for that. I won't be, I'll be asleep, and looking forward to a weekend of maybe just being able to chill a wee bit and hopefully some stuff falls into place. What time is it in Australia? Someone asking. 7:45 in the evening. Yes, incredible stuff, Patrick.
Sorry, it's just somebody quickly in the comments actually brought out a super chat as well. We really do appreciate that. I think that's one of the first super chats we've had on the channel as well. Thank you very much.
A beer at the weekend, or maybe a third of a pint for each of us, or something like that. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Robbie, for that. Really do appreciate it. Has Bogus actually been scouted? As far as we believe, yeah, the the two teams are in talks for the player. It's just the valuation is different. There will be a scouting report coming in the next couple of days from Stuart Ross on the website as well, so keep your eyes out on that. If Celtic haven't scouted them, then the Celtic Way certainly have scouted them, and that'll be on the website in the coming days.
Okay, right, we're heading for now. Well, I am for this weekend, but thanks everyone for tuning in once again. As I say, the guys will be back later in the day, throughout the weekend, etc. Enjoy your weekend. Try and chill out maybe for a wee bit now and again, because this is all very intense and difficult at times. And look forward to Sunday and hopefully get another 3 points. Chat to you all soon.